My dear friends, welcome back to Spice. In this session, we'll continue with the International Codes and Standards for Instrumentation, Part 2. Okay, so hope you have watched the previous session on Part 1, which focused on AGA, ASME, ANSI, API, BS, British Standard, SENELEC, European Norm, EU, MUA. If you have not watched, I request all of you to spare some time to watch that. I have given that link in the description. Okay, friends? Okay, let's move on with the part 2. Yeah, part 2, we only focus on IEC because it's very important for instrumentation. So, plan to give a exclusive video on this. Okay, friends, let's move on. So, what is IEC? We all knew, right? IEC is International Electrotechnical Commission. Okay, so let's see what are all the standards we need to adopt and follow for instrumentation. Okay, basically to start with IEC 600-50351. Okay, it's talk about the International Electrical Vocabulary, that is for the automation and control. This is a generalized document. Okay, then we have 60079. It talks about electrical apparatus for explosive gas atmosphere. That is a point. 60079 electrical apparatus for explosive gas atmosphere. Then same 6079 part 1. Okay, part 1 talk about flame proof enclosure, that is D. Okay, flame proof enclosure. Then we have 600792, that is part 2. It talks about pressurized enclosure, P. Okay, friends? Right. Then 60079, part 7, it talks about increased safety, that is E. Okay. Then 60078, it talks about classification of maximum surface temperature. Okay. Then 60079, part 11, it talks about intrinsic safety, I. Okay. Then 60079, part 14, it talks about electrical insulation of hazardous areas. Remember, friends, 60079 is a common that is meant for electrical apparatus for explosive atmosphere. Under that, there are various parts, and in this case, part 4, we talks about electrical insulation of hazardous areas. Okay, right. Then 60085. It talks about thermal evaluation and classification of electrical insulation. It's a bit of more of electrical, but good to know. Then IEC 60227. It talks about the polyvinyl chloride insulated cables, that is PVC, insulated cables of rated voltages up to and including 450, 750 volt. Okay, right. 60228. It talks about conductors of insulated cables. Friends, 227 PVC of insulated cables of a rated voltage up to 450, 750 volt. Okay. 60228 talks about conductors of insulated cables. Then 60331, it's test of electric cables under fire conditions. That is for the circuit integrity. 60331. Then 332 talks about test on electric cable under fire condition, fire resistance. So that's the difference. 331 talks about circuit integrity. Okay. 332 test talks about fire resistance. Yeah. Then 364 electrical insulation of buildings. Okay. 391 marking of insulated conductors. That's a point here. Marking of insulated conductors. Then 60584 thermocouple. Extension and compensating cables. This is very important for us. Remember, friends, this is one of the intel question actually. IEC 60584 means thermocouple, right? Right. IEC 754, 60754. It is actually related to test on gases evolved during combination of material from cables. 754. Then 757. It's basically code for designation of colors. Code for designation of colors. Then 793 talks about optical fiber. 794 it talks about optic fiber cables. Okay. Then 60529, this all we know, right? Yeah, degree of protection provided by enclosure, that is IP rating, 60529, right? Then 61000, it talks about electromagnetic compatibility, EMC. 61158, very important for us. 61158, industrial communication network, that is field bus specification. Okay, all under this, all IEC. 61158. Then 61158 part 1, it talks about overview and guidance for IEC 61158 series. Okay, basically this is the main standard. In part 1, it's like an index. It talks about the overview and guidance for IEC 61158 series. Okay. Then part 2, it talks about physical layer specification and service definition. Very, very important, friends. Yeah. 61158 part 3, it talks about data link layer, service definition. Don't worry, you just get to know what is what. We will focus all these in individual video. In fact, if we talk about HOT, the layers are there, right? And foundation field bus. Even I'm planning to give a master class with the various series about foundation field bus very soon. Hopefully a next video, who knows, right? Okay, so now you just get to know what is what. So part 3 talk about data link layer. Then part 4 talk about data link layer protocol specification. Then part 5 talks about application layer service definition. Then part 6 talks about application layer protocol specification. Okay. Yeah. Then another very important 61508, functional safety of electrical, electronic, programmable, electronic safety related system, 61508. Then 61508, yeah, that is actually version 2010 and part 02 7. Okay, all these part you can verify for the safety aspects. Then another important 61511, this is for the process industry sector. 61511, functional safety instrumentation system for the process industry sector. Okay, so that means 61511 203 version and part 1 to 3. Okay, right. Then 62264, it talks about enterprise system integration. Okay, that is level 4 actually. Okay, enterprise control system integration. Then 60751, RTD element with 3 wires shall be designed in accordance with IEC 60751. Okay, very, very important for us actually. Us in the sense instrumentation professionals. Then 61754 part 20, it talks about the type LC connector family. Okay, type LC connector family. Then IEC 60332 part 3 category A. That means it's cable. Yes, all cables shall be water, oil and sunlight resistant, gas and vapor tight, and at least flame retardant according to IEC 60331 part 21. Okay, right. Oh, sorry. I think we need to read like this. Part 3 category A, it talks about, okay, cable shall be water, oil, sunlight, resistant, all these actually. Then part 60331 part 21, it talks about fire exposed area, cable should be fire resistant according to IEC 60331 part 21. So that's a point here. So simple, friends, very simple. Okay, flame retardant. Okay, part 3 category A. Okay, then part 21 331 part 21 talks about the fire resistant. Simple, right? Then 5841, it talks about thermocouple tolerance class 1 for measurements requiring uncertainty class A and B, and tolerance class 2 for measuring requiring uncertainty class C and D. So what is uncertainty class A and B, C and D? All actually we uploaded an exclusive video on this temperature transmitter, thermocouple, RTD, all those. You can watch and get benefited, friends. Okay, here we'll focus only on the standard, right? So the point is 60581. It talks about thermocouple tolerance class, right? Okay. Then IEC 60529. This one we know, already we are covered, but repeating, never mind. Degree of protection provided by enclosure IP code. Okay. So IEC 534 Part 1, it talks about industrial process control valves. Okay. Talks about controller terminology, general consideration. So remember friends, IEC 60534 means it's about control valves. That's it. Then 534 Part 2, 1. Okay. It talks about process control valve, but if here the part 1 talks about the terminology and general consideration, whereas here part 2 1 talks about the flow capacity, meaning the sizing equation for fluid flow under installed conditions. Basically it talks about sizing. That's it. Then 53483 it talks about industrial process control valve, noise consideration, aerodynamic noise, all these. You remember that 85 dB? So yeah, all these actually comes under this. Hope it is clear. Right. Then IEC 60534 Part 2, 3. Again, it talks about industrial process control valve, flow capacity test procedure. In fact, I actually uploaded one video on inspection and testing for the control valves also. In that, I have covered there extensively. But this is, get to know. For flow capacity test procedure, we should follow 60534 Part 2, 3. Okay. Then 60534 Part 4. It talks about again control valves, but here it talks about inspection and routine testing. Okay. Right. Then 534 Part 8. Again, it talks about control valves. Part 8 talks about the noise consideration. Yeah. Then 534 Part 9 talks about test procedure for response measurements from step inputs. So that is the more on a test procedure. Okay. Then IEC 5843 thermocouple. This one we already covered, right? So here point is part 3 talks about extension cable, extension and compensating cables, tolerances, identification, all these. So remember 584 means thermocouple. Then 60654, it talks about industrial process measurement and control equipment. Industrial process measurement and control equipment. Automation, right? Okay. 60751, it talks about the industrial platinum resistance thermometer. Okay, 751. Then again 60534 Part 8. Section 4, Part 8, Section 4. Again, it talks about the process control valve, noise consideration, and prediction of noise generated by hydrodynamic flow. So that's a important one aspect here. Prediction of noise generated by hydrodynamic flow. Part 8, 4. Then few more. IEC 61000 Part 4, 3. Electromagnetic compatibility, meaning testing and measurement techniques. Okay. Then, of course, this one we already covered. 61511 1, 2, 3, functional safety. Then 60751, it talks about the industrial platinum resistant thermometer sensor. Then another one is related to electrical. 60947 Part 5, 6. It talks about actually low voltage switchgear and control gear. So basically it focuses on the control circuit devices and switching elements. Okay, right. Switching elements, all these actually. Yeah. Then IEC 61850. This is actually communication network and system in substation. 61850, all pods. Then 62264. Again, enterprise control system integration. IEC 60189. Okay. Part 1, it talks about low frequency cables and wires with PVC insulation and PVC sheath. So part 1, it talks about general test and measuring methods. This is more of electrical actually. Then IEC 61034. This talks about measurement of smoke density of cables under defined conditions. Okay. Then IEC 60079, Part 11. It talks about the equipment protection by intrinsic safety, I. Then Part 25, it talks about explosive atmosphere Again, intrinsically safe electrical system. Okay, 11 it talks about intrinsic safety I, and here 25 talks about intrinsically safety electrical system. That's all, friends. I hope you had a very good insight on this IEC code. So we will meet soon in the part 3, wherein we talk about IEEE, ISA, ISO, JS, NAS, NAMO, NEC, NEMA, OAML, NFPA, and BDA. Okay, friends? Thanks a lot. See you soon in the next video. Till then, this is Bala signing off. Bye-bye.